Our next project is to make a 2-transistor Astable multivibrator, or in common parlance, just a LED flasher. So it's going to flash these LEDs on, alternatively, one on, then the other on. For this project, you'll need two 2N3904 transistors, 2 LEDs, any color is fine. You'll need two 470 ohm resistors. You'll need 2 of these resistors. I don't know their exact value. They should be somewhere around, I'm going to say 47K. We'll look at the details later. And here we need 2 capacitors, and the capacitors are 10 microfarads. You'll see it written as 10 mu. And I'll go through that in some more detail later. I've also chosen to use a couple of staples to act as conductors or as wires. So we'll be using those to put our circuit together. The other thing we will need, of course, is the breadboard, the battery, and the battery connector. So let's get started. Start with your breadboard, and you want to put your transistors in first. And your transistor, basically the way I'm going to do this circuit is to try and match the circuit diagram I just showed you. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to put the transistor in, and I'm going to actually rotate the breadboard so it matches what I'm doing a little better. And I'm going to put the transistor in like this. Okay, and where exactly isn't really important, somewhere in the middle. Now the other one, pay attention carefully, needs to go in the exact same way. And hopefully that's at the right spot. I'm going to double check. Helps me because I don't see real well. I need to trace where that one is. And it lines up with this one, which is what I want. So then the next piece I want to do, if I'm looking at my circuit diagram, I know the emitters of both these transistors are connected together, and so I'm going to use my staple for that this time. I do have some nice little fancy wires, but I know that you probably don't, so the staple is kind of ideal for this. So I just put the staple in. What does that mean now? That means, remember, these 5 are all connected, and these 5 are all connected. So now what I've done is all of these are in the same circuit, so the emitter over here is connected to the emitter over there, which is what we have in our circuit diagram. Now the next thing I'm going to look at is where the LEDs are going to go. Now before I do that, what I want is to have all the positive all across the top of the breadboard. So I'm going to put another staple across the top, and when I plug my battery in, I'm going to just put a positive here, and that means I can get positive 9 volts anywhere along here. Okay, and we'll do that a little later. So next I'm going to choose my LEDs, and my LEDs, remember, the positive is the longer of the 2 leads, so that needs to go up where the positive is going to be. So I'm going to put both of these way at the end. So the positive, the longer one, goes right up at the top, like so. Now if you look at the circuit diagram, you'll see that we need the 470 ohm resistor going from the negative of the LED to the base of the transistor. So the base is in the middle in this case. So I'm going to take my 470 ohm resistor, yellow, purple, and brown. Okay, it's 47 times 10. The brown means 10 to the 1, which is 10. And I'm going to place it from the negative lead of the and it could be anywhere in there, negative lead of the LED and I'm going to connect it to the base, which is the middle pin of the transistor. Okay. Oh no, that's the wrong spot, sorry. It needs to go to the collector. I don't know why I was putting it on the base. Okay, now I need to do the same thing with the other LED. So I'm going to go all the way from the negative pin of the LED to the collector of this transistor. So now I'm quite a ways there. My next step, this one goes to the base. It goes from the positive to the base, and this is the 470K, I believe, no, 47K 47K resistor. So the 47K resistor goes all the way from the positive. I may have to use my fingers here. And that's going to come down and go to the base. And the base is the middle pin. So remember, I've got collector, base, emitter. Okay, and the same thing on the other side. So from the positive rail and it doesn't matter which hole it goes in, as long as it's in that first row, and that comes down and connects in to the base, which is the middle pin of the transistor. Make sure that nothing's touching anything else in terms of the metal. Make sure the metal isn't making contact with metal. Now the final pieces are going to be these capacitors, and these capacitors are electrolytic capacitors, which mean they have a positive and a negative, and the positive once again is the longer one, so we call that one the anode, which goes to positive. And so looking at my diagram, I need to go from the positive, so the positive goes from the base on one transistor to the collector on the other transistor, and the positive side should be towards the collector. I almost did it backwards. So I'm going to go from the base of the left-hand transistor to the collector of the right-hand transistor. And let me double check that. I can see that I did that correctly. Okay, my next one, I do the exact same thing. I have the collector, the base of the right-hand transistor goes to the collector of the left-hand transistor, and the collector side needs to be the longer one, which is positive. Now I'm going to bend the lead like this because I'm going underneath the other transistor and I don't want these leads to touch each other. So I'm just going to place that in place. I may need to rotate this to get a better grip on it. Get that into the hole. Then we're going to place the other lead connected to the base. And now I check to make sure nothing is touching anything metallic. I don't like how close those two are. I'm just going to bend them a little. And there we go. I think that's the end of my circuit. Now all I need to do is add in the power. So we grab our power cable, and our positive can be anywhere up here where there's room, so I'm going to put it there. And the negative needs to be connected to the emitters, which is down here. And so if you look carefully, it's in the same row here as both emitters. And now if I've done everything right and there are no short circuits, when I turn this on I should get alternating flashing LEDs, which I do. And so that's our Astable multivibrator.